Welcome, guys, to the Underdogs Podcast, the most scuffed but the only English broadcast about PCS. So let's jump right into it. First off, Beyond Gaming has left the league. Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but unfortunately, Dinter decided to leave the organization. He decided to disband Beyond Gaming due to his due to problems with management, problems with sponsors, problems um, with just uh, keeping mental fortitude. The stress seemed to just get to the Dinter, unfortunately, and as a result, we are having a 17 league, which will go on pretty much with an unchanged format. We have Contender League this time with 3 teams, which seems fine considering which squads are going to be playing, which we will go over in a minute. The Contender League will be double round robin. The Breakout League will have one round robin. We'll have a singular round robin, and this time 3 teams will advance from it. We will still have the initial best of 3 round robin in the beginning to get the seeding for the groups. We will have the 1v1 for site selection, which is huge news and something that I think was pretty much unilaterally believed to be a very good addition to the league. Apart from that, it's pretty much the same as we saw it. We will have LJL teams coming down to playoffs, we will have Osh team coming down to playoffs, and I don't think that much will change, at least from the Taiwanese side, when it comes to teams, as in the top, not much has changed, but we will go over this in a minute, as we will start from pretty much the middle, as we will go over the pretty much newest drama in Frank Esports, as we've had Wacko join in the AD carry role, and he since went out to state that the team pretty much ghosted him. There has been no scrims from Frank Esports, he was getting no information. It seems like they have problems in actually paying salaries out to person, which is speculated that this was actually why Eminem wasn't playing for some games in the past split. Now he is stepped down into a coach position, and it seems like the main reason for that is that the organization is just not paying him money. And this is a pretty sad thing, because it lowers the effective pool of players, of really good players that are in the league, and it just costs the league in terms of quality. So that's a pretty sad thing. We will see how the situation actually develops. I'm hoping that Frank manages to actually remain in the league without any future problems, because I think that we need Hong Kong representation, and we really do see that in both Frank Esports, in them putting out so many top lane talent, and in the form of YSK, in the form of Solokill, in the form of Yijiang, and in the form of Frank Academy as well, because they've been pretty much the third best team in the academy, and this has been pretty much unopposed across the board. So yeah, that's a real big shame. And apart from that, when it comes to my opinion on the move of actually getting Wacko over Eminem, given the context, well, it is what it is. I don't think Wacko is actually an upgrade unless he comes back to his form from 2022, the spring 2003, and the splits way in the past, because his last split in PSG was very sloppy, and I think that it was one of the worst splits in Wacko's career. And well, the split in J Team was the split in J Team, and it pretty much speaks for itself. It was mostly, the performance mostly was due to drama, and there is no talking around it. So yeah. I was surprised when Frank actually decided to not flex Jimien and Pretender in the playoffs. I think that was a huge mistake on their part, and it really hurted them when Jimien was actually not performing well against the likes of Gory and the likes of Dasher. I think that the versatility that Pretender provides in terms of playstyle would have really helped them, especially in the matchup against Softbank Hawks, because I think that if Pretender played there and they actually diverted resources to Ejang, I think that may have been the straw that broke the camel's back, and maybe Frank would have been actually the second team in the league, but yeah, unfortunately, we didn't see that, and I think that's on Frank Esports' coaching staff, in my opinion, because you saw that in the regular split that the versatility between swapping out Jimin and Pretender was one of the biggest strengths of that team, and yeah, there's no talking around it, basically. I'm repeating myself. So we'll go over to another team that I will talk about, which is going to be Deep Cross Gaming. Deep Cross Gaming, well, they didn't change really that much when it comes to the squads. In fact, they only brought in Fang, and yeah, I wonder if Fang starts. I think he is a better AD carry than Tide, but I'm not DCG's coach and I don't really have the intel, so we will see. I think that if Fang actually plays, then it is going to be a substantial upgrade over Tide. Tide is a good AD carry in his own right, but I think that he can be a little bit lackluster on the weak side of the map, so unfortunately, yeah, that's what it is. That it is what it is, and in terms of the strength of a squad, I don't think that much changes. 665 is still a very unstable player. Chris Katas is an amazing mid laner, but in a league which has such a stacked mid laner pool, it is hard for him to be the breakout player for DCG. And Taco, he showed some inconsistencies throughout the regular split, and overall, that's not the direction that you want to show as a relatively still rookie player. So we will see whether they actually manage to defend their second slot. I think that they pretty much have no chances of breaking down to top 3 unless Frank Esports actually collapses. And yeah, I really hope best for the Fang, because he's been one of my favorite talents to look at from pretty much the so to speak newer generation, and he has been a player that I've cherished since he came up last year in spring in BYG, so I would like to see this player's career develop more. Overall, we will move over to the team that I deem actually 5th, that has made one of the biggest changes in this offseason, West Point Esports. They have came in with Ryue. They got 11-16 in a huge transfer move. They got Lilvi on their AD carry position, and rest of the team stays as it is. They also brought in a new English-speaking coach in Calvin, and as far as I know, the team is supposed to communicate in English, at least in terms of the coaching, so we will see. I will try to not leak as much as I know, but in general, when it comes to how the off-season went, it seems like West Point actually opened their every single role for tryouts, and they wanted to still keep Relia, but they wanted a new player for topside. They went with Ryue. When it comes to mid lane, they somehow got 11-16. He actually came to tryouts, and well, it pretty much went from there. Rennie, as far as I know, is due to 11-16 wanting to play with him. And then Lil V, he came up and just went through tryouts and got into the team, so that's pretty much it. It is a kind of a strong team just by the virtue of having 11-16 in the team, which is has pretty much been the best mid laner last split, partially due to how bad Maple and Gory were compared to expectations, but he still outperformed. He got rid of his inconsistencies, and we will see whether he actually manages to carry West Point Esports to the 4th slot and perhaps towards even a win past stage 2 of playoffs. In my opinion, they are on paper still worse than Deep Cross Gaming, but I am open to be corrected in that manner. This is my 5th team. We will go over to the 6th one, as it is going to be J Team with no changes whatsoever to their squad, and it is, as all of you may know, pretty much the worst iteration of their last team's roster. We have Likai, who is pretty much useful when he's given resources, which I doubt will happen in this team. I would have really loved if they somehow kept Kongyue, but as far as I know, he just didn't want to come. They just didn't reach out to him for pretty much obvious reasons. The drama between the team was pretty much unsolvable, and with that team staying, it is as it is. Menji, I still like this player very much, but he hasn't really shown much last split. He wasn't the same Menji that was carrying games even in Bergea Dragons, to be honest. And I feel that Lauva needs to step up. I feel that Chichi especially needs to step up if J-Team really wants to achieve something more than bottom 2. Because I doubt that they will play what is, in my opinion, the optimal playstyle for them, which is playing around solo lanes and especially Likai. I doubt that their firepower will be really enough, so yeah. I would like to see Enso and Minji succeed, but I don't think this is really the squad in which they can. Like Enso, like please go to another team and hopefully get a better team to play with, because you are absolutely held, in my opinion, the most out of every single player here, even apart from Minji, who, yeah, as I said, hasn't been really performing up to my standards, at least. So, in my opinion, this is the team that will end up second last. We will see if they actually defy my expectations here. I really do hope so. But it will be really hard to get over DCG and the current West Point roster. So we will switch over to the team that I think will be last. Probably because I don't really know about the three rookies that are coming right in. They have made pretty much a complete overhaul of their team. Helpix coming out with Guangguan, Abyss, Nuli, Cheng9 and Carry. Nuli and Cheng9 players previously playing in West Point Esports, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that they weren't the best options that were available on the market if you include the players that were in Academy. And if you even include free agency, like both West Point and Helpix, why aren't you getting Atlan? Like, does Atlan actually does not want to play? Because I am so surprised that he hasn't found a team yet, since he's played that Impunity. He is miles better than Cheng9, who is pretty much like going blind without knowing Guangguan, Abyss and Carry. He's pretty much the worst player in the league, and after the split in Waste Points, I wished that he didn't appear in the league ever again. He unfortunately does, and let's really hope that Carry carries him, because Carry has been the player that I've seen the most, which isn't really a good mark. He's the player that I've seen most out of the trio of Guangguan, Abyss and Carry. He has been playing a bit in CFO Academy, has been playing a bit in DCG Academy, in Hong Kong Falcon, as far as I remember, and he probably is an okayish sport. We will see if he is an upgrade over Arding, who was, in my opinion, the standout player of the previous Helpix roster. But otherwise, I don't really have anything negative to say about him or the other three players. Abyss, a pretty known name across the academic leagues as far as I'm aware. He has been the member of top collegiate, I should say, not academic, collegiate teams. And so did Guangguan, who was also a member of the DCG Academy as well. I don't know these players. They may show a bit of quality, but coming into the split without really watching them extensively, I just see this team as a budget DCG that may not even be better than DCG Academy, with all honesty. Especially with Cheng9 as their AD carry, and I will reiterate this so much throughout the split because so far I am a Cheng9 hater. He is going to be a huge liability, and if there will be more liabilities in the team, such as Jace Meta not being here for Nully, for example, I don't really see this team going far. I don't see this team winning even a series, to be honest. So yeah, it's maybe sad, but we will see how they develop, as this is new talent coming into the league, and that's at least a good thing that Helpix do, because now after coming up with the streamers team with the old J-Gamer squad that was previously in, and now they are coming in with fresh and new talent, mostly, and they are letting some of these players actually go out into the fray against the likes of Maple and Driver, so we will see how they perform versus these players, whether there will be another standout player in the Helpix that I will probably, unfortunately, just be annoyed that they leave in the next split. At least I don't have financial issues, I guess. Talking about Driver, he joined CTBC flying Oyster, and I really do wonder whether he will start over Rest reliably, because I think that he should. Rest, so far, after the huge loss streak that CTBC had in last year, he hasn't really recovered since then, and he was one of the main reasons why CTBC was in that losing streak to begin with. So that's what I hope. Driver, in my opinion, is a huge upgrade, and he is certainly one of the best players in the league, in my opinion. Criminally underrated. Apart from that, when it comes to really giving feedback about this team, Shun has really spread the wings under Sword Art's guidance, and he's been really the only positive thing about CTBC flying Oyster related to expectations. Sword Art has been pretty neutral. He is the tank support player. He is slightly washed. He isn't the best support in the league. He was capped by Woody pretty much. But that's more. I mean, Woody is so much better than Sword Art, mainly because Woody has the advantage of his champion pool, and that's pretty much the main difference. Because when it comes to the intangibles, Sword Art has shown that he really gave the advantage to CFO, and if Shun really remains on his top form, then I believe he is going to perform better than Betty in this upcoming split. Gory and Karsa, they were the main reason, I believe, that people actually believed that this is going to be the super team that beats all. I am kinda surprised that they did, given Gory's tenure in PSG. Yes, he was stomping regular season, but he also massively choked in playoffs once bans started coming his way, and last split it wasn't really that much different, and I don't believe he was even in top 2 and or even perhaps top 3 of the mid laners. I still put him as top 3, but we will see that in a minute. Karsa, on the other hand, he does have the mechanics to outplay most of the junglers that are right here in the PCS, but that isn't a good thing. I'm belittling CFO here because, well, they did underperform related to expectations, but that said, most of these players are still in the upper half of the standings when it comes to skill relative to their opponents in lane, and across the line there are still the second best team in the league pretty much by a huge margin, especially with in my opinion, a downgrade in the AD carry role in Frank Esports. So I think that the addition driver is going to be huge. We will see if the renewed reunion between Driver and Rest will actually improve both players. We will see how many games will Rest play over Driver, and this is pretty much the most important angles at which you can look at from this team, because I don't believe that this team will beat PSG. And you may have seen the teaser, you may have not seen the teaser, but the truth is that CFO first and foremost has to think about beating the first Japanese seed, if anything else, because SoftBank and even DFM had a terrible meta read last split, and you shouldn't really expect them to underperform this much next time. So unless CFO really steps up across the board in terms of the veteran players, I don't believe that they are going to even really have a chance to get the championship. External factors may prove me otherwise, but I don't think that they will do this out of their own volition, out of actually overcoming their mistakes. So yeah. Over to the last team, PSG Talon. They changed nothing. They performed extremely well at MSI. Betty probably had a game of his last 3 years at least, because his performance versus BLG was absolutely mental, and I stand beyond the belief that if they actually gave him a proper carry instead of Senna in Game 5, I think the PSG Talon would have completed the upset, which would have been the greatest upset in the history of esports, and this pretty much lands us a opinion that hasn't really been contested across the community. So they stand as the benchmark for quality in the PCS, and pretty much every single member in this team is either a top 1 or a top 2 player. I still remain like kind of a, you can say kind of a hater of Ajay, because I will not place him as the best top laner unless people actually start underperforming way hard. He does have his Gnar, he can carry games with his Gnar. I don't believe that apart from his Gnar and his Udyr, I don't believe he can carry games on any other champion. That said, PSG and Ajay himself are extremely good at rotating Ajay's leads across the map, and this was a killer weapon for some of the more important matchups in the PCS. They haven't really gone with that playstyle internationally, which leads me to believe that they aren't as confident in it. But you gotta show praise where it should be. Ajay is an incredibly great top laner, and he definitely deserves his slot after being under the wing of PSG Talon for so many splits. Junjia and Maple, they've shown their merit at Worlds, but they were also the main reason why PSG underperformed week 4 last split. They were the main reason why they almost ended up third in the contender group, especially because of Maple, because oh my god, he was struggling with the new meta picks. Fortunately for him, the meta seems to shift towards mages once again, so he will feel at ease with the current meta, hopefully. And so I expect him to dominate the middle lane again. Betty and Woody, pretty much the best bot lane in the PSG, just because of how far ahead Woody is in terms of his decision making and his champion pool. I deem Woody as one of the supports that actually know when to not engage, and this is a quality which players like Kaiwing, for example, kind of lacked in recent years, and this has lost some games for the worst teams. So yeah, I mean, Woody is a quality in himself. He is kind of the underrated player in PSG Talon, even though most would last year at least would have played him in amongst the worst players on PSG. I believe that he proved why he belongs here, and he also proved by comparison why other players do not belong here. Supports in PCS and overall in the Worlds, they are kind of garbage, but amongst many bad players, Woody stands as the one who actually shows improvement despite his long tenure in the league. When it comes to Betty, I praised him for his BLG series. I would say that he is still worse than Shun overall. I think that his performance versus BLG would be a one-off situation. That said, if he manages to actually keep that kind of level across multiple games, then he's indisputably the best player in the league. No questions asked, but you can tell that about Maple and his last year's Worlds performance, and we've seen how he played, so that's all you can do is just speculate in that kind of situation. Last thing to say, Hongshuo, I really do believe that he will find a place in which he can play. I don't know whether he's actually content in playing as a sub for PSG Talon, but given which players are actually playing in the lower half of the league, I believe that he could find a place here. But I guess he just didn't for the time being. Maybe he is waiting for Maple to retire, who really knows. But that is going it for the teams. We'll go over to hopefully, welcome to the most scuffed podcast in the PCS. Sorry for that. So we'll go over to already established power rankings. I did them a couple hours ago to just make these things easier, because I think that an hour-long episode has been a little bit too much. I will go over some of the more controversial picks for a bit. In this case, I did say that Rest has been pretty much underwhelming for the most part. Jiang in A+ is pretty much because he is a good strong side player. He is a meh weak side player. I think that this is not really that big of a controversial opinion. Some people may just put him in S minus because of his peak, and I fully understand that. I will place him in A+. And when it comes to Guangguan and Rue, I don't know how well Guangguan plays. Rue, I remember that he was somewhat good on J team, but we don't know whether he will play. He played in EDG Young, and we don't know whether he improved there. We will see, and I didn't believe in my memory and my expertise to actually have a strong opinion about him. So coming down to coming down to the jungle position, we have Gemini over Karsa, because I believe that he has been playing extremely well in Frank, and he, despite kind of being gapped by the likes of Junjie, I still believe that he was showing some pretty good carry games, which is a pretty okay thing for a veteran like him. And he has been showing good carry games in champions that are not Lee Sin, which Karsa kind of struggled to do so. Overall, I don't think that this is going to be that much controversial. Officially in GCD, Helpix have Godtone as their jungler, but Godtone has received a 3-game ban so far, and we will see whether he will play in week 3. But I do believe that Abyss should probably still start over Godtone, unless Godtone really wants to just pump up the viewership. And at this point, he's kind of just surrendering the sportsmanship of his team and going to just upgrade the quality for the Taiwanese viewers, mostly those who actually are familiar with Godtone's image, which is pretty large margin. It is a pretty large margin overall. So I will, if Godtone comes down in place, I will not be critical about this, at least overly. Oh wait, welcome to the most scuffed podcast in the PCS. For the mid lane, I place 11-16 in the S tier, above Maple, above Gory, above Jimian, because hey, he deserves this. I think he deserves it. Like, Maple, when he plays internationally, he definitely deserves the S. Sometimes he deserves the S+. In the regular split and in playoffs, I don't think he deserved more than S- because he has been underwhelming. PSG won nonetheless, and if he comes back to his normal form, then he will deserve the S in the next episodes. But so far, I'm led to believe that he is kind of S-. Jimian over Gory, as this is not even really recency bias. And in terms of Gory, I would say this is recency bias because he hasn't been showing the same kind of performance as in PSG. And Jimian, I am kind of he is kind of coasting on the CFO days still, on his last splits in PSG, where he was actually able to carry some of the games against PSG on his Azir. And that's a key word, on his Azir, and I don't believe that he can kind of match the same kind of performance on any other champion, and that's kind of it. He was pretty much outmatching Pretender on most of his champions. He has been better than Akali, which I deem Pretender's best champion. And I don't know whether it was Pretender underperforming or whether it was actually Jimian being a better player. But I definitely see why Frank swapped Pretender for Jimian and just committed to Jimian, because Pretender was losing pretty hard in the laning matchups. But I think my point still stands when it comes to this guy. I think the versatility and going 20 CS behind and getting the kind of more difficult of an early game is still more beneficial because you can actually enable Jiang to cover for the lead. I am just speculating though. Menji B+, because he hasn't been really playing good in J-Team, and Nuli on C+, I think this is self-explanatory, he's a Jace one-trick. Coming down to the AD carry role, we have Shun over Betty, both on the S tier, and I think both players deserve it. We have Fang on A+, Tide on A- because I think that's deserved for both players. When I think of Tide, I mainly think of the Lucian Nami, and I think that Fang actually is able to play both weak side and strong side pretty well, and I think that he has actually shown it on Beyond Team, despite all of the problems that Beyond Gaming had, which were mostly that they had garbage shot calling, they had garbage macro, and this was something that BYG has struggled over the years pretty much throughout their whole history, and this hasn't changed for them, and they will just kind of live with that reputation of team with a very good mechanically players that just can't play macro for their sake. They did absolutely zero things in mid game, god damn it. Support. Also, yeah, sorry, Lil V B plus, because that's what I remember pretty much. Like when I think about Lil V, I think that he was a gatekeeper when it comes to the AD carry role, and as such, I am placing him in this spot. Apart from that, we'll go over to the supports as. We have Woody on S-, and I think pretty much no one else deserves the S. I do probably overrate Enso. Apart from that, Sword Art and Kaiwing, I think they have deserved their places in the higher or mid A tiers. Orca as a standout support from the younger generation, as he actually has the bonus of having the carry support champion pool, of playing the mages in the bot lane and actually performing pretty well on them. He also is kind of a standout support mechanically by default. Apart from that, I placed carry with B, but it kind of should be the question marks, to be honest, but I have a feeling, which, treat that as you may, it is extremely irrational. Chanine, I think that he deserves to be, and nothing less, maybe B- even. Your son, you are a sub that shouldn't be playing unless Enso breaks down again. I really hope that Enso doesn't break down. I really wish him the best. I love this player. When it comes to teams, we have PSG first, CFO second, Frank third, and they are S- unless they collapse. DCG as fourth, West Point as fifth, JTeam as sixth, and Helpix as seventh. That's pretty much it. And this will be it for PCS. We will, for a moment, switch over to the PCL. It has started. It has been going for 2 weeks, as far as I remember. The second week just started, and it is kind of going on as expected. We see Japanese academies on the bottom. We see collegiate teams and West Points being in the middle of the pack. The academy teams up on the top. I think that both Impunity and West Point do have, and even Hong Kong Falcon could like defeat Deep Cross potentially. West Point just delivered a very upset draw against Frank Esports, who did field Boxer to their coach in the AD carry role, which was undoubtedly a huge factor in that draw, and you probably shouldn't expect that to happen in the second round robin if Milkat is going to play again. Hopefully this isn't related to Frank Esports' salary issues, but it is what it is. Frank Esports is still the second in their group and pretty much the favorites to take that second slot over the likes of Impunity and West Point. West Point, in general, they are pretty much the most interesting team to look at, because they are a BCS academy that you kind of have to group with the collegiate teams, and they are kind of in the upper echelon of the collegiate teams. So far they have drew against TNU, they have drawn against Frank Esports, they have lost against Impunity, but fate is still in their hands, and I If they actually manage to win over Impunity, it will be a huge dub for the for the Southeast Asian scene overall, as many of you may remember, they have pretty much a Filipino-Vietnamese roster. So it would be a huge W for them to actually get a sort of top 5-6 finish amongst all of these teams. At least in the regulars, at least coming down into stage 2. And this is going to be it for this episode. I thank you all very much for watching this episode. I have been Meander, this was the Underdogs Podcast, and I will see you on the next episode. Watch the PCS teaser, it is a banger. See ya.